Kylie Meyer. My Instagram handle is Strange Exposures, and I'm a student photographer. I actually, for the longest time, I didn't really know anything about film photography, and it wasn't until my 21st birthday, a friend of mine gave me my very first film camera. And I remember going into the local film shop and kind of asking them, like, how do I load film into this? What type of film would I even use? Because I had never shot film. I had never really even been around people who shot film. So it was kind of just like diving into the deep end right off the bat. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really have a lot of people in my life who shot film. So it was really, really intimidating at first. Honestly, it's hard because I definitely started with digital photography, and that was where I spent most of my time. It felt safer and it felt consistent. And then I just remember getting back one roll. I think it was like maybe my second or third roll, and it was totally an accident, but it came out amazing. And it was like a drug rush. I felt like dopamine and serotonin just like pumping through my veins, and I got really excited and I wanted to shoot again. And I remember being like so stoked and showing all of my friends the photos and being like, I want to keep doing this. And as I started carrying around my film camera more, I started meeting more people and connecting with others in a way that I felt like digital didn't give me. And so film was really, it was a way for me to connect, but it was also, it very much fed into like that drug rush of like, it's feeding in the dopamine system, and you get back this role that's just amazing, and you want to get it again. I think that the film in a lot of ways was a form for me to have a physical copy of things, and for me to get physical components in a very digital world, which was something that I really needed, especially developing film. It was something where you had to be entirely grounded and very much in the moment, and that was something that I needed. It slows you down, and I think it's that unpredictability of like, you don't know what you're gonna get, you don't know how the tones are gonna turn out, and that's exciting. And I think it's really scary sometimes, but it's something that keeps you coming back. So I really like that. Honestly, I never meant to be a photographer. It was something that I never really saw myself being. For a long time, I considered myself more of a poet because I preferred to write, and then I struggled writing. I started taking a lot of medications just to be less sad and be able to function in society, and those medications made it virtually impossible for me to write, and so that's when I kind of stumbled into photography. But I felt like film just, it has a feeling in it, and I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's the grain, maybe it's the light, I don't know, but film feels poetic, and I feel the life in it, and I feel the moments in it, and that was something that I needed because I like to feel, and I like photos that make me feel, and so I felt like film was very much a way for me to still feel and for me to be a poet in a sense, but like in a different way, in a very like visual way. Film was a way for me to connect with others, which is so important, and I know you and I kind of talked about how like art is a way to connect with others, and I always find, I'm a psych major in school, and so I've always thought people were very interesting and strange, and I felt like photography was a way for me to capture that and kind of capture what they were putting off, but also to kind of project what I think they are. And film with the double exposures, I felt like it really allowed me to capture people's essence more. Like I was able to double expose, a person and their passions, so then I could really capture what that person is passionate about. I started with digital, and I definitely still use my digital camera, especially with if I'm home and I'm messing around with different concepts. Digital is instant, and I could get the lighting perfect, and I like that. But film, it holds a special place in my heart. It is something that even though it's limiting in a lot of ways because you can't see the shots until you're done with the whole roll, I think that film has so many more opportunities for manipulation and for double exposing and for really controlling what you're shooting. And so I would say I prefer film, definitely. So I think that like people who make a digital photo look like a film photo, to me it's just that's the way they're creatively expressing that photo. And I think that if that's how they think the photo should look, I totally support that. I personally, I like digital because it's more sharp, and I think that it's sometimes more defined, and that's very much needed in certain photos, but I also wouldn't want my digital photos to look like film photos, because to me they're very different worlds. I think with digital, it's more shoot, and it's kind of like if I'm shooting skaters, or if I'm shooting things where it's a lot of fast movement, digital, it's easy because I could just hold down the shutter speed and it's going. Film, you definitely have to slow down. You have to look at the shadows, you have to look at the contrast, you have to look at how much exposure you're getting, and it's just a lot slower of a process, which took some adjustment. I think the first few times I shot film, I would go through the whole roll in a matter of like 5 minutes because I was like used to digital. And I really had to like slow down because when you get back 36 photos that are all the exact same, you're like, well, I wasted the whole roll. And so film really did make me slow down and look at more of like, what am I shooting? What am I trying to capture? What emotions am I trying to put into the photo? And that was something that I didn't really think about with digital because I could usually figure that out once I got back the photos. So yeah, it's a bit different for sure. One, like when there's no limits, it's like for the projects I would choose the sky's the limit. Like I would be shooting everything, and I think that if I had more money, which I think is the biggest limitation for me right now, being in a studio setting, I think I've shot in a studio a few times, and at first it was intimidating, but now I love how controlled it is in a studio setting, and you could really guarantee that you're getting like good quality photos. I also would love to like really expand the people that I'm working with. I think that I very much shoot my friends and people who are in my friend group, which I love and adore, but also having access to different people and different types of people and people from different places, I think would be really interesting. And just again, because my photography is very much a way that I connect with people, I think that if I had more resources, I would try to connect with more people and connect with other people that maybe I wouldn't be able to reach before. I mean, pro image I have recently really started to love, but Kodak, I mean, the Kodak Portra 800, it could be used in so many different situations and it's just consistently good. I love the tones of skin color. I also really like Ultramax just because it's a cheap film, but it still gives you the same tones that I think Portra captures in a lot of ways. So I'd probably stay within the Kodak realm. I've tried shooting Cinestill and it is really cool. It's a little bit more experimental than what I'm used to just because it captures lights in different ways than what I'm used to, which took some getting used to. But yeah, probably one of the Kodak films. I'll stick with the Portra 800. My favorite camera is probably the Olympus OM2. That was one of my first film cameras, and I just remember that was the first film camera where I could do a double exposure, and that really blew my mind, and it really opened up this whole other part of film photography that I haven't even like thought of. And it's also, I've tried other cameras, and I think that the Olympus OM2, it was just good. It was consistently good. I mean, the wheel is ancient, you know, and the wheel, no one questions why we put wheels on cars. And it's because, you know, just because something is maybe old and outdated doesn't necessarily mean it's less good. And I think film very much came at a point in my life where I was struggling a lot with my mental health, and film really pushed me to go out and look at the very mundane and ordinary things in my life and to capture them and to make them beautiful. And I think that really changed my life. It gave me a purpose, and it made me find beauty in a world that I thought was really dark. So I think people should shoot film because it does have the ability to turn the mundane and the ordinary into something extraordinary, and to turn it into something beautiful, and to turn it into something like so many film photographers shoot old cars, and they shoot, you know, just things they see on the side of the road, because film really, it captures it in a way that just has so much emotion behind it that it's really beautiful. And so I think if you're struggling to find beauty in the world, or if you're struggling to find a way to fill your time, film is a really good way to dedicate some time to making art. I mean, sometimes I get a little excited and carried away and I don't load the film correctly, which is to me very much like a rookie mistake, but it's also something that, I mean, I've been published a few times and it's still something that I struggle with. And so I think that it's very easy to get caught up in how fast you're going, and the hardest part for film is to really slow down, and you do have to take the extra time to really make sure everything's loaded properly and exposed properly. And if you don't do that, film will get you. Like, film has no mercy. I think for a long time, film has been held by like the white man, and I am tired of it. I think a lot of people are tired of it. And so I think the future of film is going to be very intersectional. I think it's going to be very diverse. I think we're going to have more women, more non-binary people. I think we're going to have more people of color. And I am so excited for it. And in any art form, I think that like the white man has really held it for so long as like their own space. And because we have just gotten so many more people into the film community, I think that we're going to start seeing some really amazing photographers come out of these backgrounds that hadn't had access to film before. And so I think the film community in the future, I think it's going to get more diverse. I think we're going to have more representation, which I think is so exciting. You know, film is very much, any art form, it's a way to connect with people. And now that we're having so many different people get into film, I think there's just going to be more amazing connections and more amazing creations, which is so exciting. I'm Kylie Meyer, and I shoot film.